Hello and welcome. This is Samiel Carolina, your guide during the path of the glowing woman, and your host on these courageous conversations where we explore everything about this divine human life so we can walk lighter, love openly. And today I have a special guest. Duda is with me, joining me from Australia, and I am here in Switzerland. And today we have a very, very personal topic that we want to share with you. And a dear topic of mine, actually, which for many years I felt that I was alone in this planet Earth with this topic. And very recently, I came across an article that I will tell you quickly about what it is from Duda. And honestly, I've been waiting for the right person to have this conversation for at least 3 years. And so the magic of internet and when we are reading the signs made us come together in a very beautiful way. So first of all, I want to introduce my guest and sister Duda. She's a Buddhist life coach, speaker, and writer. She's the founder of Kick Ass Muse. And with that name, of course, she's a very, very inspiring lady. She started as a coaching business and has grown to provide online courses, dedicated Facebook groups, and a YouTube TV channel. And in her work, Duda turns to a Buddhist psychology. After spending time in a Buddhist monastery and taking vows, she sees herself as the bridge between the monks and the ordinary person wanting to apply Buddhism in their everyday life using a simple, practical approach. And as you know, since you follow me for some time, I also like very real, simple approach. And as I said, for this divine human life. And so very recently, Duda brought an article which was titled, Why I Have No Desire to Be a Birth Mother. And I was like, this is my kind of woman. This article covers a very, very hot topic, but also kind of a taboo, silent topic that lives with so many of us. This article has had more of over 8,000 views in only 3 days. It has gone viral. And if I am not mistaken, Duda, I think this article has been published in several blogs, right?
Hi everyone, and yes, it's been I think 80,000 views on just Elephant Journal and some other online magazines like Reddit for Parents, and another also online magazine in Australia have covered the story. So it's been a huge debate on Facebook as well. I have seen that Elephant Journal posted it twice in the weekend, and there was like thousands of comments and debates over that topic, and it was very interesting to observe like that women started to debate on that topic, and I think we still have a very long way to go. That's why I'm so excited that you and I have this interview on this topic, and hopefully a lot of ladies and gentlemen who are watching the interview might comment after the interview and contact us to just share their experience, because it's a very hot topic, I think, these days.
Yeah, certainly. So to introduce to my own personal story very briefly, and why I related so strongly with your article is I have all my life the impression that I was born with the inner knowing that I was not going to be a birth mother in this lifetime. Somehow I always knew, and I was always at peace with the feeling. And even when I think about my childhood, and I see also my sisters playing and how we play differently, I never played of being the mom or or having dolls that were my children. Right? I always play with Legos and other kind of, or well, a lot of creative activities in my early childhood. So that always stayed with me. Like, and I always observe my sisters like really playing around the topic of motherhood. So that kind of, when I was a teenager and an adult, then, it always reassured me to this inner knowing. And I always walk my life and I made my choices really rooted in this knowing that, well, this will never be my life experience and it should be totally okay, as if my soul was knowing this, right? But interestingly enough, even with that knowing, when I turned 38 or 39, and I was in a stable relationship, I had to leave, and I went through the process of mourning this the fact that in my physical body I was not going to experience pregnancy. And it was quite painful to go through the process, and I was surprised because, like, well, even if I know that I'm not going to be a mother, I am kind of suffering and having this pain. And so I could also relate with women who in my private practice and in my circles, we speak about this topic. So this is something that many of us are going through, whatever you are born with a knowing, or know that, or you choose not to be a mother. But certain hormones kick in at certain time in your life, and you have to kind of make the choice, right? So I want, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because those hormones never kicked in for me. I just turned 40, and I don't think they ever will. But back to your question. I don't know, I interrupted you, so go ahead.
I was totally surprised about that process, and I found it very beautiful to mourn that. So that's something now that I do in my work. But I wanted to invite you to share your own experience about this, about really making conscious choices. Can you walk us through the path of making conscious choices, especially when it comes to motherhood?
Mm-hmm. Well, let me start with this topic because it's just so beautiful to see how your story is very different to mine, although the result is the same. And it would be very tempting to see both of us having the same sort of like feeling when we were kids, and behaviors, playing with Legos and not playing with like dolls and mom in the game and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so for me, actually, it was quite the opposite. Like, I was very girly, like a girly girl, and very actually very good with kids. I love kids a lot. Like, I just I behave like one most of the times in my private life. And so it's you and I, for example, it's just one confirmation how people are unique, right? And so for me, the journey was more I would say it wasn't like a feeling that you had, like an awareness that this will never happen. It was mind based. So I was somehow a child who was very sensitive and artistic, and I was also brought up in a religious way, but I have a feeling I was always on a very high level of self-awareness. And as a child, you don't know this. You're not supported by your parents most of the times, right? And for me, it was more, it felt like a very common sense thing, and I couldn't understand why people are just so shocked. So it came out in a conversation with my father when I was around 10, I think. I was thinking a lot as a child. And I said, I don't think that I need to be a mother. And he's like, well, why not? You're healthy. You constantly have some boyfriends around you. I'm pretty sure you want to get married. I was like, yeah, I want to get married, but I don't think there's a need for me to produce a child in this world. So it was that sort of knowing. It wasn't a feeling that that will never happen to me. And the reasoning behind was that I knew that my compassion towards children who are already here but not wanted on this planet is something that I can do. So I initially wanted to adopt a child or help children, in some ways, to show them that there is love for them and that their life can be as beautiful as any other child's. And so that comes from a child. I was 10 years old when these things were going through my head. And if I translate this into my 40 years old brain of a Buddhist, I wasn't a Buddhist then, and I'm a stepmother today, it's perfect for me, because I had so many things I wanted to do in my life that motherhood was not a good enough reason for me to make that sacrifice. And I don't think that I miss on anything. So it's just, I don't have maternal instincts that I need to produce a baby, but I'm a very maternal parent. I'm a very loving and caring parent as a Buddhist. I approach it from a compassion, kindness, and love that is towards a human being. I don't want to make differences between a child or you or me or the neighbor. It's very much led by these values. And so that was my journey. And obviously, you say unique path, how do we make conscious choices? That was one of my conscious choices. The other ones were that I always wanted to actually I wanted to honor my authenticity, and whether I'm doing a wrong thing or a good thing, I had to honor what I feel I need to do. And that even came with a cost, like I'm honest and I know that that's not liked, but I don't care if I'm liked. I need to honor my honesty. And if that's the price to pay, I'm willing to pay, because I weigh it up, like which one is more important. And so, yes, women like me and you, we make our conscious choices. And the reason why it's easy to make a conscious choice, because it's choice. Yeah, we are not following some templates that I need to be this and I'm ought to do that and I should do this. We are actually in tune with ourselves. We know that there's going to be a consequence, but we are honoring what we need to do, whether you like it or not. And it's simple.
Yeah, wow. So many points there that I relate to and I want to extract. I think I like when you say that what things that we feel or we know as children are not conscious choices yet, but then they are aligned with our soul path, right? And I think that when we honor them, when we honor this inner knowing or inner feeling, then is when we live our life true to ourselves, in an authentic way, and ultimately finding peace and more capacity to love ourselves and others. And as you said, living from this place of kindness and, and compassion, living our lives and letting other people live their lives too with their choices.
Totally. And I always also, I have a critical side to me, and sometimes it doesn't. But that critical side of me was kind of observing what parents are actually around. Yeah, are they good people? Like, are they actually capable to be parents? And sadly enough, I see a lot of bad things going on there. I don't think that everybody should have a license to be a parent, and you can, crucify me for that, but I will never take it back, because I think most of the people need to sort themselves out before they enter a relationship and produce a child and be a parent. And for me, I knew that there's a lot of things I have to resolve for myself. So I didn't want to be a parent who will influence my child to be unhappy if I'm unhappy. And I was unhappy for a long time, and many people are unhappy and they're not doing anything about it. And that's so we are always wondering, why is everybody going to the shrink, and why does everybody start talking about the parents? Because the parents are not resolving their own thing before they actually take responsibility for another human being. And I'm not accepting that as a choice. I'm not doing it. I'm not willing to participate. And I was always like that. So yes.
Yeah, totally. I totally relate with you. It's one of the things that I also felt, and also is the template that I learned from my parents, using me and my sister as, the excuse, the story, the reason for their choices instead of choosing for themselves, and living through the consequences of that until today, which, knowing that I have chosen my parents for this lifetime, which is totally fine. Then I have, a very clear example, of how we are making choices, like how everyone is making choices, right? And how we stand in this place of conscious choices that brings freedom, but also a lot of responsibility of, freeing ourselves from those things. And there is another thing that you mentioned is this. I also remember as a child seeing all these kids and even adults needing kindness, compassion, love, and understanding. And I always wonder in myself, it's like, so why I'm going to bring another human being if there are so many human beings already on the planet?
Yes, it's just totally like using common sense, right? Yeah. But we are forbidden to ask these questions as a child because this is not a question you're supposed to ask. And that's how taboos are actually kept really as a good secret. And luckily, this taboo is, we're getting there. Yeah, we're getting but we have a long way to go because, like, I'm welcoming a lot of comments, and I've seen comments on Elephant Journal where they're, criticizing not just me, but obviously the article also mentioned Jennifer Aniston saying, I'm not less of a woman if I'm not a mother. And so the comments were all from women, just talking negatively about her choice. And, I also don't think that we are very supportive as women. And there's many, many reasons that I identified, and I obviously, that's my perspective, it's not the ultimate truth. But there's a lot of women also that they make this choice, but it's not a healthy conscious choice. A lot of women make a choice to be a mother because they have nothing else to do, and yes, and so I just named it. But this is also a taboo. Or another taboo is there's so many women who are, when they become mothers, they're hiding behind motherhood because everything else failed in their lives. And it's also easy to hide behind the child when the relationship is not really well. So there's a lot of hiding going on there. I have nothing else to do. I haven't succeeded. The only role I'm going to identify with is motherhood. And therefore, I'm just going to block all my Facebook posts with just my children. I'm going to lose my identity entirely. And I'm not supporting that at all.
That's not the conscious.
This is a very, extreme cases that I'm discussing, but there's plenty of those, and you don't have to go far. Just open your Facebook page and see what people are posting, and you will see where that's heading.
And also, what you're saying is very important to speak clearly, or at least to explore, right? Hiding behind motherhood, and also how motherhood became a label, or one of the hats that as women we wear, or we are supposed to wear. And there is I always discuss, why motherhood doesn't define your worth as a woman. And I think it's a nice concept, but stays there, and everyone is like, of course, doesn't define you. But in the inside, many women are going through tough time to really honor this and really see if this is true or not. So what would you advise? What would be a kind of a process that the woman can follow to be really honest with herself and say, like, am I hiding behind motherhood? I am willing to become a mother because this is something that I am supposed to do. My mother is expecting grandchildren. It's like, how can we get clear in our heart and head about this topic?
I think it's this topic, and this question is raising one thing that we all have to do at some point in our lives, whether this is in this lifetime or another. It's called the awakening, and it's part of your awakening because you have two choices: either to conform to something that you actually haven't thought about, agreed with, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and therefore you just find it. That's conforming to what other people want, and that means not living what you want. Sometimes what other people want can really reconcile with what you want, and that's a perfect scenario. But most of people actually don't take the courage. And courage, I don't mean being brave. Courage is actually living by your heart. It comes from the word heart. And if you live, with your heart, that means nothing else than loving yourself, honoring yourself, and actually taking that contract that this world is offering you and saying you have to be this and this, please sign, and read that contract. And maybe you have some objections to it. So I know that this doesn't sound very spiritual, but this is exactly what we're supposed to do. You are telling me that I'm supposed to do X, Y, Z, and I'm a person who says, but who are you to tell me? Like, why are you above me? No, but I'm telling this. But we are equal here. So this is your opinion versus my opinion. And so I would suggest that the only way is to take a stand and, you know, detach yourself, you know, go on an airplane and look what's going on planet Earth and take a view on it. Just stop and think for yourself, you know, and that's the beginning of your awakening, where you're going to start actually loving yourself. Because, you know, the other thing is, are you hiding behind motherhood? If you're already a mother, you know, and you already, you know, have few children and it's all fine, but you kind of don't feel enough, there's something lacking, you still have a chance to do other things. You don't have to just do that one thing. And, you know, maybe read some inspirational stories of mothers who have done extraordinary things. So everything can be done. You don't have to stop your entire life just because you're a mother, and that's supposed to be enough. If you are religious, like I've been brought up as a Catholic, and you know, some people struggle from these backgrounds because there's so many opinions going on, and they raise you as your, you know, your natural role is to produce you know, future lives for this humankind. You know, that's a very you know, aggressive influence on your mind since you're a little child, and some women can't cope with that pressure, and they just do it and somehow lose their own willpower. But still, you can always do something for yourself. You don't have to maybe work if you're in that environment, because we have people who live in those environments and watch this video. Do something for yourself, you know, start honoring your personal growth, you know, read the personal development books, start thinking like, what is joy for me? Maybe create a hobby. Just don't constantly go into that one little corner of your life, which is called motherhood, and do nothing else for yourself.
Yeah, you mentioned something that this brings me back to, you know, to this topic of how women in this world, we are living pretty much isolated from each other, right? That in the past, motherhood was, you know, you being a Buddhist and me following the Mayan path, we know this, that women live in communities, and they believe, and they still believe, that raising one human being, it takes, you know, several adults, not one, you know, adults. And so then there is this modern conception about motherhood and parenthood and fatherhood as well, right? Like it is like a one-to-one task, and that creates a lot of stress. But also it creates, which it really amazed me when I read articles about motherhood or parenthood, or when I hear conversations about, you know, comparing ourselves to other mothers or to other women who are mothers and not. So this energy of comparing each other and criticizing each other and seeing how she's raising the kid and how she's not having a kid. I was like, oh, well, she's not a mother, and that's why she has that body, or that's why she has that career. But me, that I am a mother, and if you knew you were a mother, you would understand, you know, you would understand what it is like. And like, oh my God, you know, I deserve so much recognition because I'm doing all these things, and on top of that, I'm being a mother, right? And that I mean, and I'm talking from my own experience. I'm receiving these, you know, these comments from women. And I remember when I left Argentina 10 years ago, one of my best friends from university, who I was living in Argentina. I was 28, just married, and I was living in Argentina. She was pregnant of her first child, and then she was like, oh, so why you are going to travel the world and live in Malaysia, and are you going to have kids, or are you going to be an old mother? And I was like, holy moly, you are so mean. Like, what gives you the right to tell me this? Like, and women, we are so terrible to each other, right? And always judging everyone's choices, and you know, and feeling entitled to receive something because of. And I think motherhood is that initiation to our capacity to give and to love. And as women, and in our essence, we have that capacity to love and mother humans, animals, plants, the planet, our businesses, other human beings. And I know why I am born with this, knowing or feeling that I was not going to be a mother, because, I could not be, doing what I'm doing in this sense, and, taking care of so many people and things. I would not be doing this and understanding this perspective. So ultimately serves you, I understand that it served me, my soul purpose, or my or my path, or my unique path in this lifetime. So I think it's it's serving us in one way or the other. But what would you say around, what do you see in your work and in your clients and your work with with this sisterhood thing around motherhood?
Sisterhood is a very funny one. First of all, I do agree with you. Well, there's probably 3 points that just came to my mind from what you said. First of all, love doesn't really choose who you love and what kind of love is. Love is unconditional, otherwise it's not love.
Yes.
So if you love your partner under certain conditions, you're not actually loving him. And, you can read simple Buddhist quotes or any ancient wisdom quotes. Love is love. And they feel differently. Romantic love is different too. Yeah, but love is love. It's unconditional. And that's one thing. So motherhood is the, one of opportunities to produce a human being and love it. But that love is equal to my love to my partner, because it's unconditional. Yeah. And the second thing that came to my mind is, I have women who are clients or friends or, people that I know, and just in the community, just from the sense of being 40 years around the block, is I have women who turn around to me or think in their heads, I don't want to say it out loud, like saying, you will never know what it feels like to be a mother. And what I have to say to that is like, yes, you're absolutely right. I have no idea how it feels to be the mother that you are. And so you also you have no idea what it feels to be a stepmother that I am, which brings me to the point that we are unique. Motherhood is one term for being a mother, but every mother is totally different. And yes, motherhood is different to being a stepmother. But from a Buddhist point of view, we all live in a very relative truth. Your perception is your perception. My perception is my perception. It's a perspective thing. There is no ultimate truth. You don't know what motherhood actually means to somebody else. You also have birth mothers who kill their children, so you can't identify with them. So how are you going to justify that?
Yeah.
And so when people say you will never know what it feels to be a real mother, I say, yeah, that's true, but you don't know how another birth mother feels. So I'm totally detached myself, and it's a very low level of, I don't know, intellect, opinion, or wisdom that I would even go into a discussion with, because I think that we all have our own personal perspectives. And in terms of competition and sisterhood, I think that we're actually quite far away from real sisterhood. I think that sadly, women compete so much against each other, especially as mothers, even as entrepreneurs, as you know. It's I don't know if we are wired like that, or has it happened recently. But men, for example, in business, are more like lions. Yeah, they show each other what they want. They usually compete, but if they, for example, see there might be something in it for both of them, they will probably just go in it together and just get it, and they're fine. Yeah, less emotions, less tricks. Women are like foxes. Yeah, and this is how I feel it. I never really know. There's not many women that I will know where I stand, and then I can 100% say, she's my girl. There's a lot of jealousy and comparisons, and I don't know if that's because we are lacking self-love so much, if we are so hungry to prove ourselves. Is it maybe because this is the era where women finally have the chance to be in the spotlight, and therefore, because we don't have the experience to do it gracefully, we do it not gracefully. I have no idea, but there is competition going on. And it's not serving us, because we have a long way to go as women in this world to actually, be part of the leadership. And you can sense these days that there's a lot of going on. There's a lot of things going on in like coaching industry, where you see women doing the same thing and wanting to serve. And it's interesting because I'm an empath and I'm highly sensitive, so I feel the vibe, and you can't fake the energy, you can't fake the vibe. You can smile at me as much as you like, but I know if it's genuine or not. And I can sense the ego. In Buddhism, we learn the ego. If I hear too much of me and identifying, I'm like you, I'm like, oh, not you're not on the same page, right? And so it's sad to watch. I think there's a shift going on, but again, I think there's a long way to go for us to actually relax, just chill. And it doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, just be who you are. Let's have fun here together. Let's just do it. Let's be result orientated. Let's not be ego led. This is not you're not doing anything. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just here to help people in my personal talent. It's nothing special. When you think you are special and you are, you just you are discovering something new, you're not really discovering anything new. You're reinventing the wheel. It's all been written down in ancient wisdom forever.
Yes,
just
totally.
Be a servant to the community, and then your ego will disappear and you will have much more of that community sense. And this community that you mentioned is, I remember my parents living in I lived in a traditional Croatia, and there was not really so much competition between my mother and other mothers. They were actually quite openly complaining how naughty we were. It was they were openly talking how they struggle. These days it's the opposite. I'm the perfect mother. I'm skinny, I'm educated, I'm the great. It's all a mask. What am I going to wear to the drop off to the school? Seriously, my parents never thought about these things. It was a different type of generations, and I'm not really sure what happened recently, that the mothers of our generation are so self-consumed, how they're going to be perceived by other mothers, and it's all about this perfection, and that's not healthy. You are putting yourself under a lot of pressure. You're going to explode one day.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So, well, I think we are over our time, our conversation, but the topic of sisterhood, that's something to dig deeper, maybe on another conversation. But I totally believe that it's time for us to relax, to be totally honest with ourselves, and learn that we can relate to each other and play. I also see this life as a playground, right? It's like, why everyone is so stressed and serious? Like, what is happening?
I mean, we're not gonna get out of this alive, just don't take yourself too seriously.
Exactly. Ultimately, you don't take your child with you, or your anything with you when you live here, so what?
Exactly.
Can you I think you are launching your new retreat in Bali. You told me a little bit about this. It's about for parents, right? And I love the idea. I think it's very very innovative and very important work that you are birthing into the world. So can you share with us where people can find you and the work on your retreats and the topics that you cover?
Thanks for the opportunity. So my partner and I started a retreat for parents where they can bring children with them, but it's a retreat in Bali for 7 days where they can work on their relationship to reconnect as parents and lovers and not be consumed by children 24/7. And we also have part of our team that is totally engaged with the children. They do lots of activities, and it's a holistic retreat for parents, and we run it 3 times a year for 7 days, and it's called Sanam retreat. Sanam in Sanskrit means beloved, and so it's all about you as parents, where you can take that time for yourself and work on your relationship, because the relationship is really the cornerstone of a happy family. This is how you're going to teach your children to know what love really is. And so it's a first of a kind. We haven't seen any other parents retreat like this. So we're very excited about this. And I also run a retreat for women in Bali. So it's always like back to back, and one for parents, and then I stay with women. So 7 days, and it's a Buddhist retreat for women where there's a lot of yoga and meditation, Buddhist teachings. I have a Tantra teacher who talks about body image and confidence, healing sessions, relaxation, pampering packages, all included. And on top of that, I run the Little School of Buddhism, which if you don't have the money and don't have the time for retreats, then you just go. It's also 3 times a year to my Little School of Buddhism. It's a 7 weeks program where in a Facebook group, it's a dedicated group, and we run it for 7 weeks. So every week there's a topic, teachings, different meditation, Q&A, homework every weekend, and it's a lot of fun and a lot of breakthroughs for people. So that's really what I'm all about.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, and so what is your website, your best website where people can find you and your work and get inspired?
Sure, it's kickassmuse.com and sanamretreat.com, and I also run a Facebook group which is called Buddhism for Entrepreneurs, and that's a free entrance in that one.
Yeah,
so it's quite inspiring.
Yes. So
yeah, I love it. It's just we have tons of fun.
Yeah, it's great. I love how you share your wisdom and inspire people. Yeah, a lot of things going on. Okay, so I will share with everyone the links here, of course, and let us know what this conversation resonates with you. What parts land and how they land, and be kind with the comments. And thank you, Duda, so much for taking the time to join me in your evening in Australia. And
thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it, and I really hope that the audience will think about it, and it's going to bring some new wisdom and joy rather than sorrow.
Sorrow and doubts. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you so much for having this, like, the courage to show up and share your heart. And so everyone who is watching this, all my blessings and my love on the path you choose to walk, and I will see you then on the next conversation. Thank you so much.